They begin as mishaps, misjudgments, miscalculations. They escalate, they intensify, they compound each other. They're fed by hesitation, by indecision, and they feast on fear. The spark becomes a flame, the water becomes ice, the drop of blood a flood. What started out ordinary is suddenly extraordinary. And in an instant, in a moment, all at once, our lives are on the line. It's a seafarer's greatest fear, fire. And make no mistake, a fire on a vessel with its confining, trapping spaces is no ordinary fire.
With land-based firefighting, you have a curb. We don't have a curb. Your house catches on fire, worst comes worst, you go out, stand on the curb, watch the fire department put it out. On a vessel, unless you're dockside, you don't have that curb.
It's extremely dangerous because of the makeup of the what we call the platform itself, the vessel itself. Inherently, there's so many operating systems and spaces and fuel on board that it just makes it an inherently dangerous place to work.
You train yourself to expect the heat, the flames, and the smoke. What you don't expect, the panic, the confusion, the surprises, is what puts your life on the line.
Don't race! Slow down!
Randy Hyde continually reminds his students about the dangers of spontaneous incompetence.
What happens is when somebody is thrust into an emergency situation, all of the training and all of the knowledge that they've learned kind of goes 180 degrees in a different direction.
Spontaneous incompetence, freezing up, or forgetting learned procedures in high-pressure situations.
Even though in this nice, warm, cozy classroom we all had a rational discussion about what to do in the event of fire, we told you to stay low and you said, yes, I will stay low. There you were, standing 6 feet tall in the middle with flames all around your head.
When a crew member is panicked, he begins to make mistakes. He becomes disoriented, forgets what equipment he has available, and most dangerously, he fails to communicate with fellow crew members. In every ocean, every language, and every type of vessel, real disasters have occurred because of breakdowns in communication. Chaos. Confusion.
CJ, can you hear me?
Communication breakdown. A fallen crew member.
Where are you? CJ, can you move?
A snap decision.
I'm going in! He's dying in there!
A deadly misjudgment. 3 lives on the line.
You don't have a pause button, you don't have a rewind button, you have one chance. You have to do everything right the first time, and so do the people around you.
When a vessel is underway, they don't have the ability to pick up the phone and dial 911.
No matter how good your systems are, they're only as good as the people who know how to use them and have the ability to use them in the right manner at the right time.
So how do you prepare for something you don't know? You suit up in the most realistic conditions possible. Fremont Maritime, a state-of-the-art fire training facility in Seattle, Washington, USA. Seafarers from all over the world come here to meet the Fire Dragon, a massive mock-up so close to the shipboard environment, it does everything but float.
Some people like to play the odds and just say it won't happen to me, and they're unprepared. Other people say, I hope it doesn't happen, but I want to be prepared. That's the attitude we're trying to develop.
Instructors like Corey Kalk bring extensive experience from the Navy, Coast Guard, and from portside firefighting teams.
Fremont Maritime was built around the concept of taking a shipboard evolution and putting fire inside of it and having a ship that we can work inside of and on top of and fight fire just like it's going to be in a real evolution.
We want people to be able to think on their feet. We want people to be able to read the situation quickly and take the correct initial action.
For the remainder of this program, we'll review the STCW firefighting basics. Thoroughly understanding these 8 steps will help you stay calm and avoid spontaneous incompetence when lives are on the line. Step number 1, know your vessel and your gear.
Most common mistake is probably people not being familiar with the gear. You have to know your vessel and know your crew. Ask yourself, what would happen if?
Do you know your job? Do you know what your responsibilities are? And when you are asked to do your job, can you don the equipment? Can you use the equipment in that environment?
As part of drilling, set an expectation for the time it should take to don your firefighting gear. A good target is 60 seconds. Step 2, sound the alarm.
General alarm!
Once you discover a fire, sound the alarm immediately and establish communications with the bridge. Step 3, isolate the fire and set a boundary. Keep the fire contained if possible. Cool the exterior surfaces to minimize damage from heat.
If you're setting the boundary as an individual, your job is to walk into a compartment and assess it, quickly deploy a water line. This is the only thing we use to set boundaries because it absorbs heat. And if it's wet, it sets. Just spray just enough water. We don't want to flood the vessel or the space we're standing in. We're absorbing heat energy out of the compartment by spraying it out here.
Step 4, account for crew and passengers. Don't assume that people are where they're supposed to be. Verify. Are any passengers unaccounted for? Where is the rest of the crew?
When a fire breaks out, something as simple as a head count can get lost, and we might assume somebody is with that group, but in reality they're trapped in their stateroom.
Step 5, develop a response strategy. What type of fire are you facing? How should you respond?
Sizing up a fire is one of the critical components of any type of fire attack, knowing what you have so that you take the right agent and the right tactics with you, and the personnel respond appropriately when they're inside.
What do I see? What do I have? What is it doing? What have I done? What do I need to do? Can I get in there and attack this fire? Can I effectively attack it with this portable extinguisher, or do I have to isolate and contain the space?
Now comes the most critical step, actually extinguishing the fire. But think before you jump in. What technique to use, what agent to use, what support, what equipment, what risks are in play. Step 6, extinguishing the fire. Different types of fires require different firefighting techniques. You must understand several different approaches, like cooling below ignition temperature.
Cooling below the ignition temperature is our ultimate goal. Once we cool below the ignition temperature, the fire will remain out. We can accomplish this with water, which is a heat-absorbing agent, and with time. Give it enough time, eventually the fire will burn itself out.
Approach 3, smothering the fire. In this demonstration on the Fire Dragon, the instructor sets a fire on water with a highly flammable solvent. This requires smothering using foam and a particular technique. Water wouldn't do any good. Step 7, set a reflash watch. Even if the fire appears to be extinguished, maintain a watch to make sure the fire does not reflash.
Anytime that a fire has been extinguished, we want to back away, take a position of safety, and set what we call a reflash watch. Reflash watches can be set for minutes, can be set for hours, can be set for days. We always want to try, when we set a reflash watch, to take that position of safety, but always keeping a visual on the seat of the fire area so that if it does reflash, we can respond.
Step 8, overhaul. Gaining complete extinguishment. Conduct an investigation to make sure the fire is out and will not reignite later. Check for fire in hidden areas and remove any smoldering materials.
By putting water or an extinguishing agent to the surface of the fuel, that doesn't mean that that fuel is going to be completely extinguished, because those fuels burn deep. They're deep-seated burning fuels. So For example, if we were using water on a mattress that's on fire, we would extinguish it with our initial discharge of water, but we would have to get our hands dirty now and get in there and break that fuel up and penetrate that fuel with a solid stream of water to gain complete extinguishment, because it is burning deep into the fuel.
Above all, practice. The new Manila amendments to the STCW code require that we continually refresh our knowledge of firefighting techniques and these basic 8 steps. Know your vessel and gear. Sound the alarm. Isolate and set boundaries. Account for crew and passengers. Develop a response strategy. Extinguish the fire. Set a reflash watch. Overhaul. Fires on vessels. They're unique to the maritime industry and especially dangerous to the firefighter. They require our respect, our continuous practice and preparation, and a heads-up attitude that continually asks, what if, before we commit to action and put our lives on the line.